this video, we're going to discuss about top 10 horror movies from 2024. If you didn't subscribe our channel yet, please don't subscribe and don't like our video. You know what I mean, right? Our number 10 countdown is in a violent nature. It's this weird slasher flick that came out earlier this year. The thing is, it's not your typical horror movie. Instead of focusing on the terrified teens getting picked off one by one, it follows the killer himself. This creepy dude, Johnny, is basically a zombie who's been brought back to life after some messed up incident 60 years ago. He's on a mission to get his locket back, and boy, does he go about it in the most brutal way possible. The movie's got this really unique style. It's almost like watching a nature documentary, but with a whole lot of gore. The cinematography is stunning, and the sound design is top-notch. It's a slow-burn kind of horror, with long, tense scenes of Johnny stalking his prey. Now, some people love it, saying it's a fresh take on the slasher genre. Others think it's too slow and not scary enough. Personally, I found it pretty disturbing, but in a good way. Our number 9 countdown is Cuckoo.
We have to go. Some species need our...
Cuckoo is one of those movies that's really hard to pin down. It's a weird mix of horror, mystery, and family drama, all wrapped up in a really trippy package. The story follows a teenage girl named Gretchen who moves to a creepy resort in the German Alps with her dad. Strange things start happening, and Gretchen starts seeing disturbing visions and hearing weird noises. It's like a coming-of-age story meets a supernatural thriller, and it's pretty unsettling. The movie's got a great atmosphere, with a lot of dark, moody visuals and a haunting score. Hunter Schafer gives a really strong performance as Gretchen, and the supporting cast is pretty solid too. However, some people found the ending a bit disappointing and confusing. But overall, Cuckoo is a unique and thought-provoking film that's definitely worth checking out if you're into weird, atmospheric horror. Our number 8 countdown is Maxine.
I knew 3 people who were murdered in 3 days. I'd be pretty scared. What are you hiding, Maxine?
This is a pretty wild ride, man. It's the third part of T. West's X trilogy, and it's got that same 80s slasher vibe that made the other 2 movies so much fun. Mia Goth is back as Maxine, and she's absolutely killing it. She's got this incredible energy and charisma, and she totally owns the screen. The movie's got a great mix of campy humor, suspenseful moments, and some pretty brutal kills. If you're a fan of 80s horror, you'll definitely dig Maxine. It's a stylish, gory, and totally over-the-top thrill ride. Our number 7 countdown is The First Omen.
How do you control people who no longer believe?
This is a pretty cool horror flick that came out earlier this year. It's a prequel to the classic 1976 movie, so it dives into the backstory of Damien's birth and all the creepy stuff that led up to it. The movie follows a young novitiate named Margaret who gets tangled up in a dark conspiracy involving the Catholic Church and some seriously evil forces. It's got a great atmosphere, with lots of suspenseful moments and some genuinely creepy imagery. While it's not as iconic as the original, The First Omen is still a solid horror film that's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of the genre. Just be prepared for some disturbing stuff and a whole lot of religious symbolism. Our number 6 countdown is Abigail. This is a pretty fun horror flick that came out earlier this year. It's a bit of a twist on the usual kidnapping gone wrong story. A group of criminals think they've got an easy score when they kidnap Abigail, the daughter of a wealthy businessman. But they quickly realize they've bitten off more than they can chew when they discover Abigail isn't your average 12-year-old. It's got a good mix of humor and horror, with some pretty gruesome kills and a lot of dark humor. The young actress who plays Abigail is fantastic, and she really steals the show. If you're looking for a fun, gory horror movie with a bit of a twist, Abigail is definitely worth checking out. Our number 5 countdown is Oddity.
This is not real.
This is this really weird and creepy horror movie that came out this year. It's like a mix of a murder mystery, a supernatural thriller, and a home invasion flick all rolled into one. The story follows a woman named Darcy who's trying to get revenge on the people who killed her twin sister. She uses some seriously spooky, haunted objects to help her out, and things get really strange and disturbing from there. It's got a great atmosphere, with lots of suspense and some genuinely scary moments. The movie's also visually stunning, with some really cool shots and eerie lighting. If you're into weird, atmospheric horror, then Oddity is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared for some twisted surprises and a whole lot of creepiness. Our number 4 countdown is Longlegs. This is this super creepy horror flick that came out earlier this year. It's got this really dark and unsettling atmosphere, and Nicolas Cage gives one of his most intense performances yet. He plays this really disturbing character named Longlegs, who's basically a serial killer with a weird obsession with the occult. The movie follows an FBI agent who's trying to catch Longlegs before he can strike again. It's a slow burn kind of horror, with lots of suspense and some really gruesome scenes. If you're into that kind of thing, you'll probably love it. But if you're easily scared, you might want to skip this one. Our number 3 countdown is Late Night with the Devil. This is a pretty wild ride, man. It's this found footage horror movie set in the 70s, and it's got this really creepy, retro vibe. The story follows a late-night talk show host who makes a deal with the devil to save his career. Things obviously go south, and it gets really weird and scary. David Dastmalchian gives a great performance as the host, and the whole movie has this really authentic 70s feel. It's got some jump scares, some gross-out moments, and a whole lot of satanic panic. If you're into horror movies with a bit of dark humor, you'll probably dig this one. Just be prepared for some cheesy dialogue and some questionable special effects. Our number 2 countdown is The Substance.
Of the substance?
This is one of those movies that's really hard to describe. It's a trippy, mind-bending horror film that's equal parts disturbing and fascinating. The story follows a fading celebrity who takes a dangerous drug that promises to make her younger and more beautiful. But things quickly spiral out of control, and she starts to experience some seriously weird side effects. It's got some really intense body horror, and Demi Moore gives a truly committed performance. The movie's also visually stunning, with some really trippy and surreal imagery. If you're into weird, experimental horror, The Substance is definitely worth checking out. But be warned, it's not for the faint of heart. Our number 1 countdown is Strange Darling. This is one of those movies that's a real mind-bender. It's a dark, twisted thriller that's not afraid to get weird. The story follows a guy who gets involved with a mysterious woman, and things quickly spiral out of control. It's got a lot of unexpected twists and turns, and the ending is totally bonkers. The movie's also got some great performances, especially from the lead actors. If you're into weird, offbeat horror, Strange Darling is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared for some disturbing imagery and a whole lot of what the fuck moments.